came back. So I wanted to talk about prayer and meditation. So when I learned how to pray when I was little, as a Christian, you kneel, you fold your arms, and you ask God and Jesus for things. Forgiveness, obviously, would be first. Forgiveness for your sins, and please keep so-and-so in your good graces, or please let me win this game, or whatever it is you're asking. And that's how I learned how to pray. And I think many religions have that, where you pray it's like beseeching, it's asking, it's talking. You're talking, basically. So I asked someone the other day, I said, so when you pray, you ask for things, and how do you know if you're going to get them? And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, do you ever listen for a response? And I said, well, no. No, don't listen for a response. And that is meditation for me. When I sit, and maybe I go in with a question, and you don't even have to say it. You can just think it. And then just listen. You're going to listen for an answer from the universe, from God, from Jesus, from whoever, from your higher self. You can call in whoever you'd like to answer your question. But you'll get an answer, an actual voice answer. I've gotten answers from people who are alive, I'm just not in contact with right now. And that's their higher self talking to my higher self. And you can access that level of awareness by sitting and listening. It's not going to happen if you're sitting and asking, because your mind is engaged and your mind is talking. You need to let your mind go and feel the answers. You feel the listening. Does that make sense? You're accessing another dimension. In that other dimension, there is no thinking, there's only feeling. So you need to move out of thought and into feel. And that is exactly the state of stillness and being that I was in when I rolled those dice. And that is also the exact state of being that I was in when I left my body during my birth and went through the golden tunnel of light to the gates of life. It is a state of soul feeling. It's hard to explain in words because it's very limited. The words here are very limited to describe this feeling, but if you felt it, you know what I'm talking about. Because you too probably aren't telling anybody about it because there's no words to describe it. I'm watching myself on this video a little bit, and I'm looking at this wall, and I have to say I'm obsessed with this color. And the reason I'm obsessed with this color is because this is the color of the tunnel. It was like the flame of a candle, oppositely rotating concentric circle. It was sacred geometry. It was a star pattern of a wormhole tunnel, and it was this color, this golden color, like shining like fire though. It was like fire. It was brilliant. I can't even describe it, there's no words. And I look around, and even this wall doesn't really do it justice, obviously, because we're here on this planet, and this is what we've got to work with. But it was glorious. It was glorious. That's the only way to describe it. And seeing those other beings, when I got to the gates of life, and I'm calling it the gates of life because this is where I picked up the soul of my child. And I put my hand out, and my hand was that same glowing light of their hand. And our hands touched, and as soon as our hands touched, I was back in my body, and I could hear the midwife say, reach up, reach down and pick up your baby. I had no idea what she was talking about. It's like, a baby? Who's talking to me? Like, what's going on here? That was pretty good. It was an amazing experience. But yeah, I lost my whole train of thought, which is how I go off on a tangent. Listening. So I would say meditation can scare people, and they feel like, oh, it's India and you need to be a guru. You don't know how to meditate. Here's the thing. There are many, many different ways to meditate. There are guided meditations, there are mantra meditations, there are dancing meditations, whatever. The path for you is whatever works for you. But I would try sitting and listening. That is the way it happened for me. And by accident. And I think that it is a very, very powerful way to meditate, is just sit and listen. And better to do it when it's more quiet. So you could do it during the daytime. I mean, I did. You could do it at night. You can do it where and whenever. But the less actual sounds of your environment that you're hearing, the deeper your hearing needs to go. So if you're sitting and you're listening to planes taking off and cars honking and people talking in another room, that's where your focus is going to be. But if you're sitting in silence, like real silence, when the birds are sleeping, so you're not even listening to birds chirping, maybe you're in nature, your hearing needs to expand. And the more silent it is, the more expansive your ability to observe through hearing will be. Because it wants to hear, it wants to feel, and you'll just expand and expand and expand and start hearing things far, far away. And then you'll start feeling the hearing. Your brain will start using its technology and start feeling imagery. So not that long ago, I would say like a month ago, I was in meditation and I was sitting and listening, and it was night. It was about 10 o'clock at night. And I got pretty expanded pretty quickly, although I have to say I was sitting for about 4 hours. And I didn't know it was 4 hours because I got lost in it. But I had this sort of vision, the inner vision. I would say it kind of looks like what I would expect, or I imagine that whales and dolphins will see with their echolocation. It was sort of like a picture, but in relief of light. like a light relief image. And I could see things happening, which later I found out were actually happening. And that is really incredible to get information that way, because you know that it's true. It's coming from another place. It's coming from another dimension, a more global dimension, where you can feel and see more than just what is right in front of you in your 3D experience on this planet. So yeah, if you have deep questions, you want to know your soul's purpose, you want to know why you're here, you want to know why some tragic things have happened, I would say sit and listen, and you will find out. But start practicing the sitting. And the more you practice, the faster it is to get there. So I think that's the other key. If you've never gotten there before, you're going to have to practice a little bit more until you get the feeling. And then you'll feel it. You'll feel when it kicks in. And then you'll get there faster because you know what it feels like. You can ask for that feeling. You can command that feeling and get it. You get to it faster. Some people call it dropping in. You drop in much quicker once you've been there before. So the first time is always the hardest because you've got to get there. You have to find it. And however you find it, that's how you find it. We are all completely different and yet so the same, but our experiences are completely different. And the way that we find things like this is supposed to be different. We are finding a unique path, each of us. And it's not necessary to do what somebody else is doing. What's necessary is to do what works for you. This is why, at this point, I don't follow any religions. I'm not part of any groups. I'm pretty much anti-group to like clubs. I would speak to clubs, you know, like being a Christian or being a Jew or being a Muslim or being a Hindu or, you know, even the groups of yoga and meditation. I don't want to join any group because my path is unique and my group is humanity. Like humans are my group. And if I expand that, all creatures are my group. And if I expand that, Earth is my group. Like everything is my group. So I don't feel the need to join. And speaking to that, just on a whole other side tangent, when the election happened and my story with Trump came out, that, you know, he grabbed me, and you can Google that if you'd like to. You'll see all of that wonderfulness. People were very, very quick to assume that because this happened to me, because I had this experience with Donald Trump, that I was automatically a Democrat. And again, I have to say, I am not part of any group. I don't believe in groups because I don't, the exclusion that happens in any group, I just don't believe is divine. You know, even Christianity, if you're not a Christian, you're going to hell. Well, no, that doesn't make sense to me. And it doesn't make sense because I've traveled and I've seen and I've studied. And if you've done those things, then you'll know that there are good people all over the world in many different religions, and they're certainly not going to hell just because you believe that. And then you have the Christians who are very, Christianity is my first religion. They're very condemning and very judgmental. And that happens in all religions. If you're not their religion, you're not as good as them. And that is total hypocrisy for what the religion actually stands for. So I don't follow any groups, any political groups, any religious groups. No. At this point, I really think the only true religion is math. Because math is nature. Everything is mathematical. And the thing about that math too is that it's not 2, 4, 6, 8. It's not balanced in that way because we need the positive and negative to create. So it's always just a little bit off. And that's what keeps everything growing and moving and beautiful. It's unbelievably intricate and almost beyond understanding. But, the structure of the universe is geometric. And I was in the golden tunnel of light. I've seen the structure, and it is sacred geometry. That's what it looks like. I didn't even know what that was until my brother suggested. He's a Waldorf teacher, and they teach math through geometry. And when I told him my birth story and how I was in this golden tunnel and I was trying to draw it, he suggested I look up sacred geometry. And when I looked it up, I realized that was the tunnel. That's exactly what it looked like, except it wasn't a flat two-dimensional drawing. It was alive and spherical and moving. It's a vibration. It's part of the nature of the universe. And we are all that. If you look at cell structure, if you look at feather structure, leaf structure, I've never looked at fire, but I imagine that that's geometric as well. Everything. It's pretty gorgeous. It's pretty fascinating to just think that we truly are living in this matrix of math. That's a group I can join. The math group, which is funny because I hate math. I always hated it. I was never good at it. But now I realize that that's everything. Everything is math. You are math. And that's a group I can join. Why? It's everything. I don't have to join it. I am it. And so are you. So is everything. So no, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I am math. I am math. That sounds funny. After all this study to come to math, it's pretty interesting. So I made my mushroom tea. It's a coffee replacement. It's called Mud Water. And here's to you, Mud Water. Thank you for making this for me because I really enjoy it. It's adaptogenic tonic. It's all good for you. I wouldn't say it tastes like coffee, but it's a nice warm liquid. which I like. So, what other stories do I have for you? What do you want to know?